So I know what you're thinking. The guy in the little graphic preview doesn't really quite look like this guy, and you'd be correct. That was me a couple years ago. No beard, maybe a couple other noticeable differences, maybe not, but I assure you, I am Tom Santilli. I'm a movie critic. I'm the resident movie critic here on Movie Show Plus. I'm also the national film critic for Access.com. Before we get into this week's batch of movie reviews, I do want to say something important. I am not here to tell you, the viewer, whether or not you should or shouldn't go see a movie. I'm a huge fan of the movies. I love the movie-going experience, and I say that you should go out and watch any movie that you ever want to, regardless of what I or any other critic says. I'm not here. That's not my job. Some critics might, do that. That isn't what I do. I'm here to discuss movies, tell you what I thought from my gut, and then you can leave it up to yourself to make the decision as to whether or not you want to go see it. But let's talk about it. Let's see the films and discuss. That's what I love about movies. Let's do this.
It's weird. You like hanging out with animals more than people.
Yeah, well, animals get me. I rescued George when he was 2 years old. George never would have survived on his own.
He definitely trusts you.
Last night, George was 7 feet and weighed 500 pounds. George, you okay, buddy? You're scared. It's okay. This morning, he's 9 feet, pushing 1,000.
The first movie up this week is Rampage. It stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Naomi Harris, and it is loosely based on the 80s arcade game of the same name, Rampage. You might remember it. It was like the giant monsters that climb buildings and beat the crap out of them and make them fall. You got helicopter shooting at you and all that kind of stuff. So this movie keeps the giant ape, the giant wolf, and the giant lizard creature thing from the arcade game, and basically puts them in a real-life situation where they're terrorizing the country on their way to Chicago. This movie itself, okay, it's an action movie, yeah, but it's one of those movies that it tries to be funny, which it should, by the way, because this, this is kind of a ridiculous premise, but the film itself tries at times to be a little bit too heavy-handed. The action itself isn't all that great. The CG gets out of hand once in a while. Ultimately, I had just enough, like just barely enough, like care for the old arcade game, I guess you could say, to push me over the edge on this one. I think this is a movie that is worth watching. I'd give it like a B- maybe. The Rock is okay. The movie's all over the place, but it's Rampage, so you kind of go in and get what you expect.
Mind telling me where you're taking me?
The kidnappers called at 6 a.m. They know you're here, they want to meet.
Next up this week is a film called Beirut, and it's a really interesting kind of like spy, tense, backroom, smoky room thriller, and it stars John Hamm and Rosamund Pike. This is a movie that, again, it has like political intrigue. They're trying to figure out a negotiation for a hostage that has been captured, and John Hamm kind of gets caught in the middle of things. But John Hamm is really good in this thing, and it's actually a really nice to see like an adult thriller. This is it really is like highbrow, I should say. But yeah, Beirut is like a solid B for me, and I think that it's a movie definitely worth your time. Go check it out. The last film I'm going to highlight this week is a film called Journey's End, and it's based on a play that's over 80 years old, dealing with a real-life topic, which was this British battalion in World War I that is kind of on the front lines. They're expecting a German, attack anytime, and it's kind of like these soldiers and their lives and the impending doom that is kind of hanging in the air. It's palpable in the air. It stars Asa Butterfield and Paul Bettany. Also Sam Claflin. I really like this film. I'd give it like a B+ if I was giving it a grade. I'm curious as to what you think, though. Hit me up on Twitter @Tom Santilli, and maybe we can have a discussion about it. Also out this week, the horror film Truth or Dare, and also a film by the name of Finding Your Feet. So go check all those movies out at the theater, and I will see you next week.